Hello, Malcolm. I'm so excited to be speaking with you today because I have received so many suggestions from our listeners to visit Fed News on Reddit, which we had previously talked about being basically dead. But I guess dead with the caveat that it was mostly government workers who were posting on it. So I guess it's not dead when it comes
specifically,
to...
she means Reddit being dead, not Fed News being dead.
Yeah.
And there was a great graph I saw of our Fed News on Reddit, and then it looked at work hours, like Fed work hours, and basically people are only on our Fed News during government work hours.
Whoops.
But I want to talk about what they're talking about. I want to show, how extreme Reddit has gone, how extreme parts of the federal government has gone. I showed you one thing recently, the Our Parks, which has changed their sign to like a handheld up fist, alt US National Park Service, and it has on the website, ourparks.org, a message for President Trump. You've previously shut down our social media use and eroded environmental protections, but you can't silence our collective voice. Our Parks is a stand to safeguard our environment and prevent 4 more years of destruction. Join us to protect our national parks for future generations. Sign the pledge now. This is a great list for who to fire Elon, by the way. Good list.
Oh my gosh.
I'm so glad they're putting this together for us. By the way, if you're wondering what this organization is, this is a group of federal parks employees that specifically got together to oppose the elected will of the people during the first Trump administration, and now is trying to redouble their efforts, and was in Reddit as seen as sort of a champion. They're like, oh, there was a top post recently about how parks employees are going to stop Trump. And if you're wondering who's funding this stuff, it's being funded to the tune of $100 million by the Lilly Endowment, Inc. That's the Eli Lilly Foundations that is supposed to be giving money to religious, specifically Christian-focused issues and education-focused issues. But nope, they've been taken over by far leftists, and this is what we repeatedly see of Christian nonprofit institutions that were set up in the past. And if you're like, oh, come on, you shouldn't be that mean to like the people who are hanging out on Reddit. So I go to Reddit, and the top post for me, which is
not under Fed News, just on the homepage, right?
On the homepage. No, it doesn't have that many upvotes, so it must have gotten a number of them very quickly to shoot it to the top. Also, if you check Reddit today versus Reddit of the past, top posts do not have as many upvotes as they used to. The site is not used as much, even though its numbers would imply that it is. I have to assume they're Fed bots. See our other episode on this. Is 6 random young people working for Elon, 25, 22, 19, 23, 24, and 21, with just gross mischaracterizations of them posted based on the original strong bad sort of meme from Homestar Runner.
Teen Girl Squad! Cheerleader! So-and-so! What's your face? The ugly one! Hey guys, let's go get ready to look so good! Word.
So they have the Jesus one, age 25, the lactose intolerant one, age 22, the chronic masturbator, age 19, the murderer, age 23, the date rapist, age 24, and the serious one, age 21. By the way, the one who looks a little brown, guess what they named him? The serious one. Right? The lactose intolerant one is the Asian one. But then I went to it to see what the most upvoted things were. And the kid here who they doxed and listed as a murderer in this chart, let's see the type of 20-year-old who Elon is finding to do this stuff. I think when you learn who these people really are, you'll understand why they're so terrified of them.
One day I was just listening to a podcast back in March. It was with Nat Friedman. He just kind of got on the podcast, explained like there are these burnt up scrolls that were buried in the Pompeii eruption. No one knows how to read them, but some professors have created CT scans of these scrolls, and they uploaded the data on the internet as a competition to see who could find writing inside of these scrolls. And when I heard that, I was just immediately like, oh my goodness, this is such a cool project. I have to work on this. I just went home from work that day at the end of the day, and I've been working on it evenings and weekends ever since. I run most of the things from my laptop. It's just a normal MacBook, don't worry. But then I've just got like 5 surplus computers in here. This is what I do most of my work from. I just spend hours upon hours staring at flattened pieces of the scroll like this, trying to find these patterns, which are part of the writing. At the start of the challenge, we had not been able to find any writing at all within these scrolls. There are hundreds of these scrolls that are from the mansion. We've scanned a couple of them, and no one had been able to find any writing in them using these methods. Late one Saturday night, I was sitting at a party at a friend's house in Omaha, and I get a text from another person on the challenge team, and he says, "Hey, I've just uploaded this new kind of piece of the scroll. You should take a look at it." I remotely access my computer. I type into it like, "Please run the algorithm on this new piece of scroll." And then I just kind of started. I pull out my phone again, just nonchalantly, like, "Hey, I wonder how that went." And there are 3 Greek letters on the screen, letters I'd never seen before. It was really cool because it's like, oh my goodness, like we actually detected new writing in the scrolls using AI. That was the moment I realized like this is actually going to work. Like we're probably going to read the scrolls. And I completely freaked out. My friends were there. I was cheering, jumping up and down, screaming, crying, all the stuff. Now we're reading entire paragraphs from the scrolls, and hopefully we'll be able to read the entire book and read the hundreds of other books that were buried in this condition as well.
The entire thing was shut down, couldn't see any comments, and it turned out the most upvoted comment on it when I was on it was a 9 negative downvote one. Why was this a top comment? I don't know. Reddit is jank these days. No, I didn't accidentally have my filter set to most controversial. And it was somebody saying, while this entire situation is effed, this post is still just blatant slander. They're basically kids, and you call them quote unquote murderers and quote unquote date rapists. Really? And then under that, people are saying, well, I agree with you to some extent. I don't think, quote, they're basically kids, end quote, is a valid excuse given their current unearned position of power in the federal government. I'm saying, what do you think any federal government employee is? Unearned a position of power in the, what is this?
Well, I don't. So what I learned, and I mean, you spent time living and interning at least in DC, and I spent time living and schooling and working in DC. Government jobs, I think when people work for the federal government, they get a very different understanding of what earning means because there are all these like levels and codes and certifications.
Oh no, it's
and then
it's an MLM.
yeah, like after a certain number of years, then you classify for this tier and this level, and it's all extremely complicated.
And none of it is based on your competency or how well
But I
you did.
think that they have, I mean, once you spend enough time inside a cult, you normalize the cult activities. I think what's going on is they're like, well, I earned my place because I am now
I
like
sat at an office on Reddit for X many
an
days.
orange level tier 5, clearance number 385HY, and therefore I have earned my position. And it's, I mean, it is their reality. How can you question that? I mean, and there are people that we know and love who work for the federal government. Like, I'm not saying that everyone who works for the federal government is completely delusional. Most people aren't. Most people are really reasonable. But I do think that there are some people who
I mean, I think you might be being a little too generous. Let's go to some of the other comments here. So then this is somebody defending them under that person. They go, but are there any basis to the claims in the pic? They can be people doing Elon's bidding, which is illegal, but also not the things pointed out above unless some facts back it up. And then they say, edit, downvoted by people playing right into the hands of the people that will ignore everything you say because you can't stay on topic without childish BS, but all they are is childish BS. An upvote here is somebody with a black person emoji, thumbs up. Next one is somebody saying, F them, they'll be tried as adults in any court. If they had darker skin, they'd be called thugs, and Trump would take them out and execute them. This is what they really think is happening, by the way. They chose to join the coup, F them in association. And then the next one is old enough to commit the crimes, old enough to be called names. So, the mindset of these people is extreme. I was in looking at like, okay, what's being said in our Fed news? One of the top posts was C-SPAN is taking calls from federal employees right now, and then they have the number. And they go, they are currently talking about a certain billionaires meddling in the government. Oh, you didn't care when all those other billionaires, because, Kamala did raise 3 times the amount Trump raised.
yeah, like really, where was the money, people? Where was the money?
No, it's not like Bill Gates and stuff. Oh, they don't care when it's their billionaires. But anyway, the top comment here I love is, do not call during your duty hours, because apparently they know that Fed employees wouldn't even think to be like, oh yeah, I probably shouldn't go when the government's paying me to do something else. And recently was what's the department that Elon's been shutting down? Yay, Elon, by the way.
USAID is what he has like almost complete. Right. So one of the areas where there's a lot of attack taking place is Elon is 100% going hard on USAID, which allegedly gives a lot of international aid. But I remember having conversations with people who worked at USAID as federal employees. We're saying like more than 8 years ago now. So like not like this is anything new. Just like this was just how it was. Saying, yeah, like I fly out and we go to these conferences and I'll work for weeks on a report and like no one really reads it. It doesn't do anything, but I do really enjoy the work. And I remember thinking that and being like, wait, but you're not frustrated? And this person really just enjoy the work, enjoy the research. So it was kind of just cool to be paid for it, even if it wasn't making any difference in the world or like being utilized by the people who are receiving it. And I only just put 2 and 2 together when Elon Musk went hard on the actual department of like, wait, these are federal tax dollars being used to pay for a bunch of reports and people flying out to conferences and meetings to talk about a whole lot of change that's never going to happen. Like, yeah, this is a very egregious waste of tax dollar money. And I feel conflicted because I really respect the person who had told me this. And although I also remember feeling really, really conflicted when this person said that to me, because I was like, wait, but you're so talented and you're so smart. Your work could actually make a difference somewhere. Are you sure that you want to work for the federal government and do this work that no one's going to pay attention to or listen or heed? It is kind of, I don't know. It feels almost criminal.
Like talented players out of the U.S.
Yeah,
economy.
it's like the worst version of an IQ shredder. And I think one of the reasons this person preferred it was because it was very stable work. There was very low change, great benefits. It was a comfortable job. It's not like doing the same kind of work in academia or something where things could be a lot more competitive, resources are dwindling, etc. It's really political. I mean, it was political where she worked as well. But anyway, I feel so conflicted about it now, but I'm also like, man, but like 8 years ago, I was hearing about basically just money and time being wasted in this entire department. And it's weird to hear it being attacked now. I'll pivot a little bit to just like what's going on in Fed News, which many of our viewers are already well aware. But I think one of my favorite things is I look at the theme that if you go, for example, to top this month and you sort of see the initial reactions to everything that's happening, a really big theme is remember the oath, hold the line, hold the line. Like this is being repeated across many posts. One person made an illustration that I'll share with you of like a crybaby Trump in a diaper saying gimme in front of a line of federal workers that is extremely DEI looking because there are like intentionally people of all colors of the rainbow. And
you got to share this so our viewers can see it.
And there's a person in a wheelchair. So that like they're all about the diversity. It's actually interesting to see what this particular Redditor decided to represent as the federal government, being the CDC, Medicare, the EPA, US Mail, Education, Social Security, Freedom, Democracy, and the FDA.
Oh, and they're BIPOC.
No, they're not all BIPOC. There's plenty of plausibly white people there.
Oh, I love the
one person
guy.
with
I
microcephaly, clearly.
Sorry.
Right under the FDA is a person suffering from microcephaly. So we've got disability, we've got different ethnicities, we've got the wheelchair.
Wait, do you think that that's what it is, microcephaly, or they're just a bad drawer? They're
trying let's be nice and charitable to them and assume that it's someone with microcephaly working for the federal government, Malcolm. It happens, okay? Represent.
No, hold on. So something I learned about really interesting today. So when he's taking apart this department, Elon, right? Everyone's freaking out, the USAID department. He's like, okay, when I got to this department, I thought it was like an apple with a worm in it. And what it turned out was just like a big ball of worms.
Well, yeah, because his big thing, his focus is on let's just go after overpayments and payments for stuff that isn't doing anything. And I think that the bigger issue is he's like, wait.
Well, they don't even give out that much money at the thing. They
really don't.
It looks like they might be taking more than the CIA. I think it's $17 billion a year or something.
That is mind blowing. I did not know that.
Go into it. Yeah. And if you look at the stuff that they are putting money into, Brill Crystal, that guy who hassled Trump forever and made up this Russia collusion story and was like the core person pushing it. And his org was the core org pushing it. They were paid by USAID. So they were funded. All of that Russian collusion stuff was funded by this org, and Trump didn't even shut them down in his first administration. It was created by an executive order. So there's no reason for it to even exist. And the guy who did all of that, he's still on their payroll right now.
Oh. Well,
So for
it's
people who
hard to
think,
fire federal employees.
for more color on this, Bill Kristol founded the DDT, or the Defending Democracy Together Foundation. This played a pivotal role in amplifying concerns about Russian interference in the 2016 election. This organization received a hefty donation from Rockefeller Philanthropy Advisors, RPA, a donor-advised fund, which received $38 million from USAID. Now, some will claim, well, it's not for certain that any of that money went to them, because a portion of it, about half of it, was earmarked. So 20 million was earmarked for a media initiative in South Africa. However, the rest of it, not earmarked. So it could have gone to him, considering that his organization did things like a $1 million ad buy trying to legitimize the Mueller investigation, and a $35 million DDT funded 2020 initiative designed to draw a connection between Trump and Russia. This was called Republican Voters Against Trump, RVAT. Quick side note here, but with the shutdown of USAID on our Discord, somebody was complaining about, now this program that kept African kids from getting aid is being shut down. So I look at the program. We spent over $100 billion on this. This is kids in another country. We've got plenty of kids suffering in the United States right here. And these kids who we're saving, are they even going to care? Are they even going to have an appreciation for the United States after this? No. Why should we be sacrificing for them? It's not the US's job to be the world police. I thought the rest of the world wanted us to stop that. It's not our job to be the world's social security system. It's not our job to be the world's Medicare system. If you want to do that, you can do that through personal donations, rather than forcing the US taxpayer to do it. It's oh so easy to be a philanthropist when it's not your own money that you're donating. But there is no morality in being a philanthropist when it's not your own money that you're donating. You're just taking money from struggling children in the United States and giving it to struggling children in another location.
You sure you don't want more? I've got more. I have a lot more. A lot more.
Hey. So, I'm kinda underwater. Is there any way you could help me and my family get out?
Oh, I'm poor. I'm so poor. I just couldn't possibly afford it. Dad, are they gonna help us?
You're too poor?
In fact, if you could lend me some money, arrest anyone who tries to help his family.
No, and then get the wrong impression. What the org will tell you is, we distribute money where it's needed. No, it tells other orgs to distribute money where it's needed.
And they don't listen, apparently.
And they don't listen. It is 100% a scam. This org needs to be shut down. If you look at the percent money.
And I mean, again, it's not just that. It's that it also locks up otherwise amazing talent, and shreds it and wastes it.
Let's look at other
fun so I just want to point out, the key thing now, a theme under Fed News, is basically we will resist the Trump administration. The big theme, and I encourage anyone listening to this,
this is why they all need to be fired,
is to go to reddit.com/r/Fed News and then filter, top by month or week, just to kind of see what's most popular. One, I will point out, it's good Reddit etiquette, or Reddicate, as it were, to look at the rules of a subreddit and respect them when operating within that subreddit. And yet, the rules are no harassment, threats, trolling, or inciting violence, no shilling, trolling, or impersonation, no sharing sensitive or classified information, no political content. Except for pictures of Trump as a crying baby, no speculative questions, no duplicate posts, no social media content. Basically, this subreddit has flown into anarchy. The rules don't matter anymore because, when it comes to inciting violence or resisting or federal hiring questions or speculative questions or political information, no, because now, jobs are being threatened.
They've totally lost their run. My brother recently sent me a screenshot, which I'll post here, which was the Reddit front page for him, just a default front page. Only 3 of 23 posts weren't about Trump. He had to go through and look for them. But let's go okay, so now they're bragging about no one took the offer. So they're less than 0.7% took fork offer.
Yeah, so the fork offer, for context, is when the Office of Management and Budget emailed a huge swath of federal employees saying, we will pay you through the month of September of this year if you just reply to this email with the word resign and just stop coming into work. You can get a job as soon as you want, no hard feelings, love you, bye. And apparently only 0.7% of people have taken up on that offer. A lot of this is because allegedly people are being told that the offer is not legitimate, that it wouldn't be honored. There's another top comment is, hold the line, don't resign, federal workers, don't do it. So there's a lot of people who
They're acting like the offer is super shady when I've seen nothing to suggest it's shady. They're like, oh, they won't even be able to pay it because it's not approved by the government. These are existing federal workers. Of course it's approved by the government. It's your existing salary. And in this post here, they're already just in one of the top comments blaming Curtis Yarvin for it. They're saying
really,
it seems like he's trying to be a tech lord to a networked feudal cyber kingdom. Yarvin is his and the other tech bros' profit. This is the kind of guy Yarvin is. In 2008, software developer in San Francisco named Curtis Yarvin, writing under the pseudonym, proposed a horrific solution for people he deemed not productive, convert them into biodiesel, which will help power the Mooney buses.
that's amazing. I didn't know he said that.
Yeah, Yarvin. So I was going through more on Fed News this morning, and this keeps coming up in the comments. This fear that they're going to be turned into biodiesel for the tech lords. And I love this. Well, not they, the unproductive citizens, they say. And I love this. And I just want to go with it as much as possible. Call people biodiesel. Be like, hey, look, I don't need to take this type of crumbs from future biodiesel just to freak them out. They get real angry. You have to be like, I said bio. Do you hate the environment? It's green energy. And more importantly, helps with overpopulation. Are you doing your part? All right, continue.
Starlight Green is federal workers. Yeah, so there's a lot of discussion basically on like actively resisting. And it's also so interesting. We did a separate episode on the deep state being real. And I'm just like, I still, even after all that, after reading about the first Trump administration's deep state encounters and the various efforts that were made to stymie its progress, now I'm just seeing like on a public forum, open resistance and the framing of the Trump administration as evil. Well, I think the second from the top for the last month in this subreddit under like Hexagram 11 wrote, remember the oath, hold the line. He reiterates the pledge, I think, that federal workers make. You know, I do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States, blah, blah, blah. He ends with, the only thing necessary for evil to flourish is for good people to do nothing, which is basically inciting insurrection. I mean, it sounds very insurrection.
Well, I mean, you saw what was happening with the federal like department around like national parks and stuff like that, right? Like this is an active insurrection that we're dealing with.
Yeah,
right now.
yeah. These are people who are refusing to carry out the orders or honor the requests of the elected executive office. And it's interesting. And just the idea for them to be like, well, they're evil. And from my understanding, the thing that makes them evil, and this is so classic Pragmatist Guide to Governance content, you know, you wrote about this when you talked about governance design, is that bureaucracies care only about perpetuating themselves. And of course, the people within bureaucracies care about protecting the bureaucracies because those bureaucracies are their sources of work. There was one post that made me a little sad to read of someone being really disheartened because he was 55 years old and he had a mortgage and a disabled son, and he knew that he wouldn't be able to get another job. And I think that is something that's underrated. This blasé, oh, these people will just get new jobs.
No, they won't. They're not qualified and they've been doing nothing for the past 20
No, but
years.
also like, no, knowledge workers just aren't getting jobs. And there are some people who are like, you know, specialized workers who do very physical work, very, you know, unique work that will be picked up elsewhere. And that, you know, they are very employable. But I think that those people are not the majority of federal workers, especially those who are on the chopping block right now, because those are like, we're talking about middle management, which is just going to evaporate in the age of AI. So my heart does go out for the plight of people who are supporting family members and who have, you know, there are some people who are posting in Fed News who are third generation government workers. This is kind of like all they've known. Their family has made it their specialization, their line of business.
Yeah.
And it is sobering to think about, their frustration and their understanding that like they're at risk. And I can understand why they're reacting to the Trump administration with enmity, because their livelihood is being attacked by
It's not
that.
enmity, it's rebellion, Simone.
Well, same thing. I mean, what's
Okay,
the
so
difference?
here's an example of one of the top posts over the last few days. Feds, this is the time to cut off anyone who backed Trump and his agenda. This isn't the moment for agree to disagree. This is the top of Fed news. This is the top of Fed workers, okay?
Mhm.
This isn't about quote unquote both sides. This is about power, money, and who benefits when democracy erodes. I love democracy to them isn't the people's will. It's unelected government bureaucrats. That's democracy in their mind. If a company, bank, an executive, a politician, or a local business supported Trump and is pushed to cancel DEI, oh, I love that that's what they're most mad about. They are telling you exactly who they are, and it's time to act accordingly. You don't need to keep throwing your money at corporations and billionaires who see you as disposable. We are still shopping on Amazon when Bezos and his empire have never once given a damn about you. Why are you still using banks whose executives had front row seats to Trump's inauguration? Why are you paying for subscriptions and services that pumped money into his campaign? We felt about this when you guys controlled all this stuff. We effectively did boycott. Let's see if you guys can do that. They won't, by the way, because they lack any ability at self-control. And if you look at the top comments here, top one, Trump supporters keep advancing the idea that federal workers are dumb, lazy, and incompetent. I wonder why. I have no idea why a federal employee would want to keep these relationships when they clearly have such a low opinion of you. 2.7K upvotes. I know several MAGA federal employees, and they use the few lazy people in the office as an example that the entire system needs to be overhauled. Their way of thinking doesn't make sense.
I mean, but here's what we need to be clear that there are earnest, hardworking people here who are going to get caught up in this and going to get hurt. And though I think this has to happen, I want to acknowledge that it sucks for them and that this is going to be happening across all layers of middle management in large bureaucracies, private organizations, NGOs, and the government. So the man that I was talking about, he got 12K upvotes. And he wrote, I'm at the end of my rope here. It feels like no one has our backs. The anxiety and stress keeps me up at night. I have a family, a son that is disabled, a mortgage, and 20 years of federal service, military and civilian.
Simone. You're buying. Okay, so
at 55, there's no way I can get a similar paying job in the private sector. I'm an MPA at the VA. And just like the TSA workers, the corrections officers, the FPS, air traffic controllers, and food inspectors, I'm not part of the deep state. I didn't try to indict the president. I didn't even mind going back to the office. And he wants revenge on my GS-12 ass. I called my congressman, a Democrat, to ask what he was doing about it. His staff just rushed me off the phone. 3 days later, I haven't heard back from him. I don't see a light at all. I find pleasure in nothing these days.
What faction of the government is this guy in if he's not deep state? What is he saying?
He works, he's an MPA at the VA. He works for Veterans Affairs. He's ex-military.
Very unlikely to be fired with the crackdowns that are happening right now. For more color on this, the parts of the VA that have been shut down is their DEI program, which placed only 60 employees on paid leave who earned over 8 million combined annually. And they have a hiring freeze, which again is not going to be relevant to him. The only part where it looks like you might have significant cutbacks in VA employment is a proposed closing of VA facilities, reviving a plan blocked under the Biden administration. While not formally announced, this signals an intent to streamline the VA infrastructure, which, again, this is about serving our troops. If it is being inefficiently deployed, so the money isn't getting to helping them in underutilized facilities, yeah, something should be done about it. But overall, it seems he's fairly safe, unless he's at one of these few facilities.
Yeah, but he's getting really stressed out.
But let's talk about who actually is being fired. So remember the post I was just reading? Like the third most upvoted comment on it was Trump just said as much in his speech. He said that many of those who work from home are just collecting a paycheck and doing nothing, possibly working second jobs. Top comment under that is a crunk thing about so lazy they're working a second job. Everybody thinks this is hilarious, right? Oh, so lazy they're working a second job because they're all working second jobs. You are buying into the person who's buying into the fantasy that has nothing to do with reality. Like,
Yeah.
why would you say like, oh, this guy, feel bad for him when he's not even in a department where they're doing cuts?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, he thinks that they
Well,
are.
he
Maybe he
thinks
received.
because he's in his silo right here, his bubble right here.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe. Now, what I didn't expect to see, which there is at least one post of that has 10K upvotes as of now, it was posted 3 days ago, was a Reddit user, Callie Doley, saying, "Black federal employees, how are you?" And she talks about how well, I'll just read it. "I am a Black female DoD Fed, and I feel beat the hell down. Every mention of stifling DEI efforts and removing any evidence of DEI achievements feels like a slap in the face. It feels like a personal attack every damn day. I'm holding the line for sure, but I wonder if any other Black Feds feel like this." And of
Go
course,
to the comments. Go to the comments. Come on, find some outrageous stuff here.
well,
Simone.
see, like I didn't expect to see this. I didn't expect to see that there were actually people in the federal government who were like, "Yeah, man, this DEI stuff was really important to me," and I'm surprised to see it
Well,
because
they're ethno supremacists.
yeah,
What is her comment other than ethno supremacism?
yeah. Well, let's see. Top voted comment, 4.5 votes. "I feel defeated, sad. Now I'm pissed the fuck off. I ain't leaving my job. I'm staying." And someone responds to her affirmative response, the OP's original response. "This is the stage of grief that we collectively as a country must hurry to get to, the anger phase. This is when we stop watching in horror as things are being done and instead get up and get shit
And
done."
these are federal employees right here. Simone, here's another one. Okay, so this is one of the top voted comment. 13,000 upvotes on Fed News. Okay, so this is for federal employees. All right, it says, "Is there any point where the media will grasp that this is a coup or a coup attempt? I work in the federal agency space, and I am totally baffled by the media's unwillingness to call this for what it is. It's a genuine national emergency. And I, as a tax-paying, you are a tax-receiving citizen. You don't get to call yourself a tax. I should not have to go to a freaking subreddit to get accurate news and context." Well, maybe you're not getting accurate news and context when the media is already inaccurate and insane. You just want your insane fantasies validated for you, but okay. "I am so grateful everyone here, Muskite trolls excluded, of course, for holding the line and standing strong in a situation that is explicitly intended to cause immense trauma." Explicitly intended to cause immense trauma. They
Actually,
are claiming
that is explicitly true. I think Russ Vaught, I'll try to look up the quote. He's heading up the OMB, the Office of Budget and Management, that's kind of overseeing a lot of this.
"We want the bureaucrats to be traumatically affected. We want, when they wake up in the morning, we want them to not want to go to work because they are increasingly viewed as the villains. We want their funding to be shut down so that the EPA can't do all of the rules against our energy industry because they have no bandwidth financially to do so. We want to put them in trauma."
Mission effing accomplished, my man.
He said something along the lines of like, "I want them to feel traumatized by this." So that's accurate actually, which is kind of great.
Oh, he's in the background here. So,
but yeah, I'll go your Calendly and read book. That's the best way to do it, right?
Yes, that's fine.
By the way, that's home math, by the way, for people who don't know. Top Giga Chad.
Chad.
No,
I'm sorry. Every time I hear the word Giga Chad, I just picture Trogdor the Burninator.
No, hold on. Come on, I gotta go here.
Yes.
No, it's been clear since well before the election that the media is writing stories to match their owners' preferences and get clicks, whatever gets them clicks. Claiming that there's a literal coup going on, reporting on a coup would get mad clicks, though. Yes, it would upset Musk. What? Okay, so keep in mind, if you are a federal government employee, okay, and you believe that there is a coup going on, that means that you have a right. And what is a coup to them but losing an election, losing the popular vote in an election?
Yeah.
That is a coup in their minds because they believe that they have a right to this country and its government services. That is horrifying. Like, we should be like well more worried that they feel okay publishing all of this. And can I say how much that I love that Elon chose, like, okay, we didn't get parts in the Doge department, but that Elon chose a bunch of 20-year-olds. Like, that's better than us. These people can spend time on this that we can't spend.
Yeah. They don't have the commitments that we do. They don't have children to keep alive. And homes. They can very easily, like just chill in the government offices in the beds, which is so cool and very efficient. It sounds like a very stressful, but a very great time in the end, very meaningful part of your life. So
Well, if you look at what people are saying here, because that's what people are here for right now. They want to see people freaking out. So I got comments here saying, I tried to put this in a post. Since this is a burner account, it got denied. This is the first coverage I've seen that starts to grasp the severity of this issue. I'm terrified. And it's Musk aides lock government workers out of computer systems. Thank God, by the way, given that this is what the government workers are saying. Like, why should we not want them locked out of systems if this is what they're saying? And then the person under this says, I just came here on Reddit to post this. I'm actually shaking from fear. It is a coup, and no one is admitting it. The silence is deafening. Then under that it goes, me too. I'm literally sick over this. And there was a good post from whatever that service, the Fed, whatever news, and it's all the progressive thing like, I'm shaking. And then Trump made like a battery from them to power the US. Because they all say this. They're like, I'm literally shaking.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, the themes here are not disheartening, kind of what I would expect. But I'm surprised that there's so much like, don't resign, don't do it. And not more just like, well, a few people, like if you really aren't into your job and you're not doing anything, why not?
I'm glad we're not going to have to pay for their whatever. We just need to get rid of them all.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that is why Senator Tim Kaine told them to not accept the buyout. So one of the more popular posts recently was someone saying Senator Tim Kaine said to not accept the buyout because it's a trap, and that he said no one should take it from President Trump because there is no budget line to make payments for this, and it's a trap. I've not received the email yet, but when I do get it,
regular salary line. What is he talking about?
Yeah, that's what I don't get. Is it like all of these departments had budgets for these staffs that presumably were going to run through September? The only difference here is that the government is somewhat acknowledging that they were a write-off, like the work that they would have done during this period between now and September wasn't of use to the federal government anyway. So the federal government isn't losing anything. And the fact that at least their salaries stop after September is a win. So
look at them freaking out about them, quote unquote, covering up core values at the FBI. Core values.
There's an image of, and it's beautifully dystopian actually, of someone taking a very depressing color of gray and just painting over a series of like a very, very lame corporate wall with a bunch of words like,
oh no, yes, all like DEI slop. And people are panicking.
Equality, and it's...
Please share with the media. Pictures speak 1,000 words.
Yeah, but I'm sure just seeing people coming in and painting over signage in their offices.
They just fired all the agents who worked on January 6 cases. I know one personally.
Someone wrote that? Oh,
yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is a great source of entertainment and gossip in general. But let's sort of, everyone, we would just encourage everyone to go in and read this yourself. Keep informed of what, if you want to know what the deep state's doing, you don't even have to like wait for some Trump administration employee to leak a report or make a report. You can just see what they're saying themselves on Fed News, on Reddit, where apparently this is like the one corner of Reddit that's still full of real people, which is both kind of great and kind of not, considering that they seem to be doing this during work hours. But it's really interesting. And this is something I don't think we've ever seen before at this scale.
Oh, you got to look at this. Hold on. This is a GIF. Feds being told not to leak information online.
Oh, I saw, and it's that clip from Mean Girls where Regina
she's just like dropping papers everywhere.
Just drops her burn book
They're
copies.
saying we are insurrectionists. We need to be put. That's what I'm seeing from this.
We're going to absolutely rebel. No, it's eye-opening, and you should look at it. And what I think is so useful for anyone to peruse this subreddit is to see something unprecedented play out in real time. On one hand, basically you're seeing,
you're seeing a coup attempt.
Trump's and Elon Musk's posts on Truth Social and on X talking about what they're doing. And on the other hand, you see the other side of the battle, the active battle posting on Reddit and probably a lot more on Blue Sky, which I still am not going to try to figure out how to have an account on. And maybe on
Do we
Mastodon.
have to get a Blue Sky
I
account? Do
don't.
we
I
need
really don't want to. I
to
really don't know.
submerge ourselves in toxicity?
No, no. But this is. I don't think this level of trying to clear out bureaucratic rot has ever been done before. And keep in mind, bureaucracies are relatively
they are
new.
proving it needs to be done. They are proving that they are treacherous. They hate the American people. They hate democracy.
They are.
And they believe that quote unquote a coup is the American people saying enough is enough.
Yeah, but the modern bureaucracy as it exists from a governance standpoint, and obviously there have been big sprawling organizations before the Industrial Revolution, like the Catholic Church. But I think they did operate, I would say, in an arguably much more agile way than even, bureaucracies now. So modern bureaucracies really only began to spring up with the British Imperial Empire and with the Industrial Revolution. We've never really seen a reckoning in which people have systematically fought back to pare down bureaucracies that have grown out of control. There have been periodic times in which economic or governmental disruption have caused organizations to simply fail and then go bankrupt and cease to exist. But never have we seen, with the exception of Elon Musk and Twitter, kind of like a test case there, any effective attempt to actively pare down and streamline an ossified, large, sprawling bureaucracy. And now we're seeing this massive, this isn't just a political stunt. This is a social experiment. This is an experiment in governance and bureaucratic management to see, can this be done? And you can see it playing out on Reddit.
That you see these people freaking out. You see a portion of the government saying, we plan to act to disrupt the will of the people in the United States. And I don't think that there is any way our country survives unless we completely clear this out.
Yeah. Get your popcorn.